Today on Cars and Chaos, we're going to build up my $500 Rust Bucket Rabbit and pit it up against a 1998 E36 track-built M3. Here is the new Cars and Chaos project car. It is a 1980 Volkswagen Rabbit Cabriolet, which means convertible for the non-European. It is the first year convertible Rabbit to hit the US and the only year that was actually German built. In the US, the Golf was renamed and sold as the Rabbit from 1976 up until 1984, where the name reverted back to Golf. This Rabbit happens to have the same drivetrain as the 1.6-liter Golf GTI, but was limited to only 76 horsepower with the stock fuel injection and cam, compared to the 110 horsepower Golf GTI of the same year. The chassis, suspension, and everything else besides the fact it's a convertible are actually identical to the Golf GTI. I picked up this Rust Bucket from Craigslist for only $500 with just 92,000 miles on the clock. It had full service records going back to 1984, was on non-op registration so no back fees, and had a title. So I figured as long as the motor and trans were good, this was well worth the buy. Now, there's a lot of stuff that I've done to this car that I haven't gotten on film yet. Like, for example, it needed a new gas tank, and I already put the new carburetor on it before I started filming this project. But there's still a ton of stuff left to do on this car before this thing is even ready to hit the roads, let alone being pit up against a track-built BMW. So that's what we're going to see today. Before I got this car, the Craigslist post said, ran when parked. But unfortunately, when I went out to pick it up, it ran when parked 10 years ago. So it had this weird mechanical fuel injection setup on it, which is super reliable and works really well. But once it gets gummed up from rust and other things, it goes to crap and it's a nightmare to work with. So the first thing I did was I took out all of the mechanical fuel injection and anything related to that, and I just put on a simple bolt-on Weber carburetor, and now this thing runs like a champ. Alright, so here's the car I'm going up against. It's my buddy Josh's 1999 BMW E36 M3. This thing is dialed for the track. It has Bilstein PSS9 coilovers with Swift springs, an M50 manifold, Racetech seats, 24-pound injectors, a Turner Motorsports ECU, Condor bushings all the way around, 3.5-inch MAF sensor, and this thing pushes 238 horsepower to the wheels and only weighs 2,800 pounds. It's a beast. Alright, now it's time to take care of some of the basic maintenance needs of the Rabbit, like fluids, and the shifter needs to be fixed. So I just finished draining the oil on the car, and now it's time to go ahead and throw in the oil filter. For this car, I'm only going to use a Bosch filter, and personally throughout all of my cars I only like to use Bosch or Mobil 1 filters, just because those extra couple of dollars you spend on the filter is great peace of mind. And plus, I've seen tons of evidence out there that support that those cheaper oil filters that you get with those oil and filter combos just don't cut it a lot of the time. And besides, with those oil and oil filter combos, a lot of the time for about $2 or $3 extra bucks you can actually upgrade to something like a Bosch or a Mobil 1 filter. So I just got my shift rebuild kit in the mail. It has everything you need to rebuild the shift and shift linkage on the Mark I Golf and the Rabbit that I have. I went to go for reverse one time. I pushed the shifter down and ended up actually pushing it all the way through the floor. And this is the old bushing for the shifter. There's a bunch of little nylon bits in there, as you can see, for the new one, so the shifter fits right in that hole right there. All of these just got, over time, dried out, cracked, and just couldn't handle it and finally gave out. So there's the new one. So here's the bottom of the shifter, which it's not supposed to be able to do that. So the way this works is you have this little brown piece right here, and when you're normally going, trying to shift gears, it will rub up against this gate, okay? And that keeps it in just the regular first through fifth gears. When you push down on it a little bit, it lets it slide over, and then you can hit reverse. All right, so I've got my buddy Josh here today, and he's gonna help me put on the suspension on the Rabbit. If I'm gonna stand any chance against his M3, I need the best suspension I can have, which is not much. All I'm gonna be doing is just replacing the old worn out shocks with some Bilstein OEM units. While this isn't gonna be a very performance-oriented suspension setup, it's gonna be a crap load better than what this thing has right now. So we got the rear shocks replaced, and when we went up front, we found that the front shocks were actually welded in place from the factory, and we didn't have time to cut them out and re-weld them. So we hit the road with those killer old shocks. But seriously, this suspension might actually kill me. All right, so we're out here today to Zeusa Canyon Road to put my Volkswagen through its paces and see if it can even marginally keep up with his M3. Now, originally I thought that I could kind of make up for the lack of car with driving skill, but then I drove his car and realized that that was not gonna happen whatsoever. So I'm just hoping to see how close I can stay on him, and if I can at least stay close. If I can stay close, I'll be happy. But unfortunately, with those welded shocks, the front suspension hasn't exactly been done yet. The rear suspension's done. We have new Bilstein OEM shocks in there, so that'll at least help a little bit. It has brand new hand-cook Optimo tires, the pinnacle of grip and performance. What kind of tire are you running? You're on a what?
I'm on a Federal RSRR.
So he has Federal RSRRs, and I have hand-cook Optimos. So I think it's going to be a pretty fair and even matchup on the tires. What's the width of that tire, Josh?
This is a 255 in the front and the rear.
Okay, 255 front and rear. So that's what, like 8.5 inches, something like that, wide.
My rim size is an 8.5, but my tire size is probably 10.5.
Okay, so he's got 10.5-inch wide tires, and I have about shoe width wide tires. So let's get to it. Beat that. All right, we're up to temp on the motor at least. Maybe just get some temperature into the tires here a little bit, you know? Get the tires nice and warm. Oh, we're losing him. This thing is bottomed out on every single turn right now. Come on, Rabbit, make it up in the turns. Keep her buried. Come on, baby. Definitely got her a little sideways around that corner. I'm just afraid I'm gonna roll a bead because I didn't really check air pressure before I came out here and do this. Just don't tap the brakes because she will have off power oversteer. This one's a little tight here. My phone is on the floor. Everything is flying around like mad in this car. Don't you think it'd be wise to check the oil before we go racing?
Maybe.
So the Rabbit's cooling fan is hitting the shroud right now, so whenever it turns on, it makes this wonderful noise. Since the audio for this part is completely unusable, you guys get to hear the sound of my lovely voice instead. Seeing this car from behind, it looks so much worse than it actually feels to drive. Being that the Rabbit is as light as it is, it's very flickable and turns so much better than you would think, even with those bum shocks. The steering feel is great and fairly neutral. If you don't bury your foot in the gas through a turn, it really does track straight with hardly any understeer, and if you lift off just a little bit more, it will actually oversteer just like you saw earlier in the video, which makes for a very fun drive. The clutch, however, is tiny and engages at the very end of the throw, so if you try any hard starts, bang shifts, or even just rest your foot on the pedal, it will slip, as you will see later on when Josh gets behind the wheel and rests his foot on the clutch pedal and has it slip the whole time.
So essentially, I'm driving his car and he's driving mine. And the weirdest part about his car is that, wow, there's a lot of body roll and the throttle gets stuck. Yeah, he's gone. I'm not used to this car at all. One thing is definitely the clutch. Like, you have to watch it. Like, just right there, the clutch was slipping. So you really can't throttle out of the turns. I feel really bad. I feel like I'm abusing his car because his clutch just won't grab and I'm trying to keep up. I don't know how he does it. Has really good steering input actually for a car with such small tires. It just must be the weight advantage because this car can really steer into the corners. So with a good set of tires and just a few things fixed, this thing could really be a cannonball. A lot of body roll. It's crazy.
Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more of these videos, smash that subscribe button and leave a like down below. And if there's anything you want to see in a future episode of Cars and Chaos, or something that you thought we could have done better with this episode, let me know in the comments down below. Huge thanks to my buddy Josh for coming up from Orange County to lend a hand on the car and to let us romp on his BMW, which was awesome. And be sure to stay tuned for the next episode of Cars and Chaos where we revive the Yoda again and take her out to some dirt and get her dirty.